The night sky over the colony world Erebos 9 was painted in silver lightning. The rain fell like sheets of liquid glass, slamming against the metal roofs of the small human settlement. The air smelled of burnt ozone and wet soil, a reminder that this world was still young, still fighting to be tamed. Ethan Ward, a maintenance engineer, fought against the storm as he ran toward the outer fence. He had seen something fall from the sky, a streak of blue fire, just before the weather turned violent. The colony scanners picked up no ship signature, but Ethan's curiosity and sense of duty pushed him out into the rain. He was a man used to storms. He had worked on frontier worlds for a decade, fixing broken machines and broken hopes, but what he found tonight wasn't something he could fix with a wrench. Through the haze of rain and flashing light, he spotted a small crater near the ridge. Steam rose from it and something glimmered inside, something moving. He ran closer and stopped when he saw her. It was a girl, or at least, she looked like one. She lay curled on the muddy ground, drenched and trembling. Her skin had a faint blue shimmer, and her hair glowed faintly in the dark like threads of silver light. She wore something like a uniform, torn, burned, and soaked through, and her breathing was shallow. Ethan's first thought was survivor of a crash. His second thought was alien. The colony had rumors about other species, but humans rarely met them outside official contact zones. If she was real, if she wasn't some hallucination from the storm, then this was history standing right in front of him. He moved carefully, his boots sinking into the mud. "Hey, can you hear me?" He shouted over the thunder. No response, only the sound of her weak breathing. He knelt beside her, checking for wounds. Her pulse was slow but steady. There were burn marks across her side, and parts of her uniform had melted into her skin. Whatever happened, she had been in some kind of crash or explosion. Ethan hesitated for only a moment before lifting her gently. She was light, too light, and cold as ice. "You're gonna be fine," he muttered, half to her and half to himself. "Just hang on." He carried her back through the storm, through mud and lightning, toward his small maintenance cabin at the edge of the colony. Inside, the air was dry and warm. Ethan laid her on the bed, turned on the heater, and stripped off his soaked jacket. He took a deep breath. Now that he could see her clearly, she looked even more strange and even more human. Her face was peaceful despite her injuries. Her skin shimmered faintly like frost under moonlight, and her eyes, and when they fluttered open for a second, were silver with faint rings of gold. She tried to speak, but only a broken whisper escaped her lips, a sound that didn't belong to any Earth language. "Don't talk," Ethan said softly. "You're safe." She closed her eyes again. Ethan pulled out a medical scanner from his kit. It beeped and flashed strange readings. Her biology wasn't matching any known human pattern. Oxygen breather, though, heart rate similar, temperature low. He frowned. Whatever she wasn't hostile. She was just hurt. Her clothes were wet and burned in places. The heater would help, but if she stayed soaked, she'd freeze. Ethan hesitated, then decided, survival first, questions later. He turned away as he grabbed a dry blanket and an old shirt from his locker. He worked carefully and respectfully, cutting away the burned fabric from her uniform, making sure not to cause more pain. Her body had strange markings, not tattoos, but glowing veins that pulsed faintly under her skin. They seemed to respond to touch, dimming when he cleaned the burns. When he finally turned her over to wrap her back, he froze. Her back wasn't normal. There were lines, deep, precise lines, running along her spine, not like scars, but like carved circuits. Small metallic nodes glimmered beneath the skin, and faint blue light moved between them like energy traveling through a machine. It wasn't decoration. It was technology, alive and part of her body. Ethan stepped back, heart pounding. "What are you?" He had seen biomechanical implants before, the kind humans used for enhanced vision or neural links. But this was different. This was something grown, not built. The lines weren't placed on her body. They were part of her. The light along her spine flickered suddenly and she let out a small cry, a sound of pain mixed with fear. Ethan quickly reached out. It's okay. You're safe. No one's going to hurt you." Her breathing steadied again and the glow dimmed. Ethan sat back in the chair beside her bed, his mind racing. He wanted to report this to the Colony Council. Any contact with another species was supposed to be documented. But something stopped him. If the authorities found her, They'd take her apart to study her. He'd seen what happened to unknown life forms before. He looked at her again, fragile, exhausted, and alone. She wasn't a threat. She was someone who had fallen from the sky and needed help. He made his choice. "I'll keep you safe," he whispered. The night dragged on. Ethan sat awake watching over her. Every now and then the strange circuits on her back would flicker softly like a heartbeat. Once he thought he saw images in the light, shapes, maybe symbols, but when he blinked they were gone. Outside, the storm finally began to fade. Dawn crept across the horizon, turning the rain to mist. For the first time in months, Ethan felt something new stirring inside him. Not fear, not duty, but curiosity mixed with awe. Who was she? Where did she come from? And what kind of being carried a machine in her body like it was part of her soul? The scanner beeped again and he noticed something new. Her body temperature was rising, it's stabilizing. That was good. But another reading flashed in red, energy surge detected. He frowned and looked at her back again. The lines were glowing brighter now, forming a pattern that spread toward her shoulders. He realized it wasn't random, it was writing. Some kind of code, then she whispered a single word. Human. Ethan froze. He leaned closer. "What did you say?" Her eyes opened, bright silver glowing faintly in the dim light. She looked straight at him, and this time she spoke clearly, though her accent was strange and heavy. "Human. World, help, please." Then her back flared with light, and the heater flickered off as the power grid in the cabin overloaded. Ethan leaped to his feet, grabbing the emergency power switch, but it was too late. The circuits in her body were radiating energy, bending the air around her. He shielded his face as light filled the room, and then as quickly as it began, it stopped. The glow faded. The lights returned. She lay still again, breathing calmly as if nothing had happened. Ethan looked at her wide-eyed. The air smelled faintly of ozone. His instruments were dead, every screen blank. But he could feel something else, a hum in the air, faint but real. Whatever had happened, it wasn't just biology. It was communication. And somehow that one word, human, felt less like a question and more like a connection. Ethan sat back down slowly. He didn't know what she was or why she'd fallen here, but one thing was clear. Nothing about his life, or humanity's place in the stars, would ever be the same again. The soft hum in the air faded as the morning sun pushed through the clouds over Erebos 9. The storm had passed, leaving behind broken fences, mud, and silence. Inside the small maintenance cabin, Ethan Ward stood frozen. His tools were fried, the power grid was dead, and the strange alien girl he had rescued was lying peacefully on the bed, as if nothing had happened. The words still echoed in his head. Human, world, help, please. It didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like a plea. Ethan rubbed his temples and exhaled. "All right, Ethan," he muttered to himself. "You just met a glowing alien who knows the word human. No big deal. Just another Thursday on Erebos." He forced a small, tired laugh, but his hands were shaking. He'd seen strange things in deep space. Derelict ships, forgotten tech, alien ruins, but never something alive like her. He needed answers. Hours later, the girl began to stir again. Ethan had patched up the power line using backup cells and boiled some water. He sat beside the bed waiting. Her eyes opened slowly, silver and calm, no longer clouded by pain. She looked around, confused but alert. Ethan smiled gently. "Hey, you're safe now. Can you understand me?" She blinked, then nodded slowly. "Understand, yes." Her voice was soft, like a song half remembered. "That's good. You gave me quite the scare," he said. "Do you remember your name?" She looked down, thinking. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, "Name Lyra." "Lyra," Ethan repeated. "I'm Ethan," he pointed to himself. "Human." Lyra tilted her head slightly, her glowing eyes focusing on him. "Human," she said again, almost like she was testing the word. Then her face softened. "I remember mission humans." Ethan leaned forward. "You were on a mission? What kind?" Lyra's gaze drifted to the window. "War," she said quietly. "Machines. Destroy stars. We came to stop them, but my ship broke." Ethan frowned. "Machines?" She nodded weakly. "They call themselves harvesters. They eat light. They eat worlds, a chill ran through him. He had heard rumors, deep space stories told by freighter crews, about ancient machines that devoured entire solar systems. But no proof ever reached the colonies. He swallowed hard. And you were fighting them? Yes, Lyra whispered. My people. Not like humans. We are born from energy, half living, half light. But we are few. We looked for help. Help from humans. She nodded again. Because once humans made the first harvesters. Ethan's heart nearly stopped. What did you say? Her voice trembled. Long ago. Before we were born. Humans created them, then lost control. My people. We carry your mistake. Ethan sat back in shock. It couldn't be true. Humans hadn't even reached Erebos until a century ago. How could they have created galaxy-eating machines? Lyra, that doesn't make sense. We don't have that kind of technology. She looked at him with sad eyes. You forgot. Your ancestors sealed the truth. The stars remember what humans did, even if you don't. Ethan stood and walked to the window. Outside, sunlight broke through the clouds, shining on the metallic soil of Erebos. He had always been proud of humanity. The builders, explorers, survivors. But this was something darker. Still, he wasn't ready to believe it yet. If you came looking for humans, why here? Erebos is a frontier world. We don't even have a defense fleet. Signal, she said. I followed signal. Human code. Old code. Ethan turned to her. Where? She pointed weakly toward the distant mountains beyond the colony border. There. Deep ground. Later that day, after making sure Lyra could stand, Ethan decided to go see for himself. The colony council would never approve this kind of trip. They already treated him like an outsider. So he kept it quiet. He packed a hovercart with food, a medkit, tools, and an old pulse rifle. Lyra watched silently as he worked. You're really coming with me, huh? He asked. She nodded. I can guide. My back remembers. Ethan blinked. Your back? The circuits, she said, touching the lines on her spine. They carry memory as map data. He nodded slowly. All right then. Let's see what kind of secret your back is hiding. They left before dawn. The air was still cool, and the twin suns of Erebos hadn't yet risen. The hovercart hummed softly as they moved through the rocky plains. Lyra sat quietly beside Ethan, wrapped in his jacket. Every now and then she would close her eyes, and the glowing lines on her back would brighten slightly like she was feeling something far away. After an hour, Ethan broke the silence. You know, most people would be terrified right now. Are you afraid? She asked softly. He smiled. Yeah, but fear never stopped a human from finding answers. Lyra smiled faintly. That is why you are strong. Humans face stars even when they burn. Ethan laughed lightly. That's one way to put it. They reached the edge of the mountain range by noon. Massive cliffs rose ahead, their surfaces covered in strange metallic veins that pulsed faintly. Not natural rock, Ethan realized, but something buried long ago. Lyra stepped closer, her eyes wide. Yes, and this is it. Human code. Sleeping. Ethan crouched and scanned the surface. His wrist pad flickered. Faint energy readings deep underground. The pattern matched an old Terran design, something used in pre-warp research centuries ago. Impossible, he muttered. No one from Earth ever came this far. Lyra placed her hand on the metal. The lines on her back glowed in response. The harvesters came from here. This world was one of their birthplaces. The ground rumbled. Ethan jumped back as the rock split open, revealing a dark tunnel spiraling down. The air that rose from it was cold and metallic, filled with the faint hum of ancient machinery. Lyra looked at him. It calls me. He shook his head. You're hurt. We don't know what's down there. Her voice was calm but firm. We must go. If we do not stop it, it will wake again. Ethan stared into the darkness. Every instinct told him to turn back. But then he thought of the colony, the people who trusted him to keep their machines running, their homes safe. If something dangerous was really under Erebos, he couldn't ignore it. All right, he said finally. We go together. The tunnel descended for hundreds of meters. The deeper they went, the warmer the air became, filled with faint blue light pulsing along the walls. It looked like veins inside a living creature. Lyra moved slowly, her hand brushing the glowing lines. They are sleeping, she whispered. They still hear us. Ethan gripped his rifle tighter. Let's hope they stay asleep. They entered a wide chamber, a forgotten laboratory buried under the planet. Machines covered in dust stood silent, their screens dead. At the center of the room was a massive black sphere, half buried in the floor. Ethan approached it carefully. It was smooth and cold, with symbols engraved all around it, human letters mixed with alien glyphs. He brushed off the dust. The words read, Project Horizon, humanity will endure. His blood ran cold. Project Horizon. I've seen that name before, he whispered. Old Earth legend. They said it was about building self-replicating machines to restore dying worlds. Lyra stepped beside him. They restored, until they began to feed. Ethan looked at her. The harvesters, she nodded. Yes, this is one of their hearts. Before he could respond, the sphere pulsed once, a low, deep hum echoing through the chamber. Lights flickered on the walls. Lyra gasped and fell to her knees. The lines on her back blazed with light. Lyra! Ethan shouted, rushing to her. Her voice was faint but urgent. It knows me. It knows you. It remembers. Human maker. The sphere's surface began to crack. Glowing from within, Ethan's instinct screamed to run, but he couldn't leave her. He pulled her up and dragged her toward the tunnel entrance. Behind them, the ground shook. Ethan, Lyra whispered weakly, if it wakes, your people will die. The harvesters will come. He looked back at the chamber, the light growing brighter, the hum rising into a roar. I'm not letting that happen, he said, determination hard in his eyes. Not again. They stumbled toward the surface as the ancient machine stirred behind them, its voice echoing through the mountain, not mechanical, but almost human. We were made to save you. Ethan gritted his teeth. Yeah? Well, you sure messed that up. The ground split open behind them as they emerged into the daylight, dust and lightning rising from the mountains. The black sphere's light shot into the sky, a beacon reaching for the stars. Lyra clutched Ethan's arm, terrified. It sent a signal. He looked toward the horizon, where faint dots began to appear in the upper atmosphere, ships, dark and metallic, descending from orbit. He took a deep breath. Then it looks like humanity's past just came back to finish the job. The dark ships in the sky over Erebos 9 shimmered against the twin suns. Metallic and angular, they moved silently but deliberately, descending toward the colony. Ethan stood at the ridge with Lyra beside him, watching the shadows stretch across the rocky plains. Her lines glowed faintly under her clothing. The circuits in her back pulsed rapidly like a warning. They are harvesters, she whispered. They followed the signal. Project Horizon awakens them. Ethan's jaw tightened. Then we don't have time. We have to warn the colony and then stop them if we can. Lyra shook her head. We cannot fight them as humans fight. The machines are too strong, but we can guide you, he frowned. Guide me how? I have a rifle, a hover cart, and a stubborn sense of survival. That's about it. She touched her back and the light pulsed brighter. My people, we can merge knowledge with humans. I can show you how to fight, how to turn fear into strength. Ethan swallowed. Then show me. The first harvester touched the ground. It was huge, taller than any human building, with glowing nodes along its surface. Its body seemed alive, pulsing like Lyra's circuits. Dust swirled around it as it scanned the terrain, searching for prey or command. Lyra stepped forward, her glow bright. We can disrupt them, but you must lead. Ethan nodded. Lead, okay. Let's do this. Together they raced back toward the colony. Lyra's knowledge guided him. She whispered tactics, where to place energy disruptors, how to focus solar arrays to overload the machine's sensors. Ethan relayed the instructions to the engineers, who scrambled to activate the systems. The first harvester raised an arm, and its metallic surface shimmered, firing a beam of energy toward the colony. The ground shook, buildings rattled, and alarms screamed. Ethan ducked behind a control console, then peeked. Lyra's light flared, syncing with the colony's defense grid. Beams of concentrated energy shot from solar mirrors toward the harvester. Its sensors blinked and flickered, a disruption. It roared, a deep sound that shook the air and reeled back. That's it, Ethan shouted. Keep it up. She smiled faintly. Now the others. More harvesters landed. They were fast, precise, and deadly. The engineers, guided by Ethan and Lyra, worked tirelessly, creating traps, activating pulse shields, and using the colony's mining lasers as weapons. Ethan felt fear, yes, but it was mingled with something stronger, pride. Humans were adapting, learning, improvising. Machines that had been feared for centuries were being pushed back by determination, courage, and quick thinking. Lyra's circuits flared with every maneuver. Your people. They are remarkable, she said softly. Even when facing death, they do not give up. He smiled, panting. You're glowing like a lighthouse. Don't flatter me too much. A sudden movement caught their attention. One harvester had broken through the outer defenses and was heading toward the central colony hub. Ethan ran, Lyra beside him. This is it, she said. Its core is vulnerable. You must reach it. How? He asked. Touch me, she said, and I will merge knowledge. You will see, you will feel, and you will know what to do. Ethan hesitated, but time was short. The harvester raised its arm again, aiming for the hub. He placed a hand on her back. Instantly his mind filled with data, visions of star systems, battle strategies, and the inner workings of the harvesters. It was overwhelming, but also empowering. I know, he said, breathless. We can trap it using the energy conduits from the mountains. Redirect its own energy back into the core. Lyra nodded. Yes, but you must act quickly. They sprinted toward the mountain pass. Ethan directed the engineers while Lyra guided him, her glow lighting the way through the dust and smoke. The harvester followed, relentless. The energy conduits hummed as Ethan activated the redirection sequence. Laser beams, solar energy, and focused plasma formed a trap. The harvester stumbled into it, its body cracking, sparks flying from its nodes. For a moment, the ground shook violently. Then, with a final deafening roar, the harvester collapsed. Its energy dissipated, absorbed into the mountain conduits. The remaining harvesters paused, sensing the failure of their leader. Lyra's circuits glowed brighter, her power reaching out to them. They will listen, she whispered. Ethan raised a hand. Everyone push forward. This is our chance. Using their coordinated energy arrays, the humans forced the remaining harvesters to retreat. One by one, they broke the machine's control signals, sending them into a dormant state. After hours of battle, the sky cleared. The colony was battered but intact. The humans, exhausted and covered in dust, stared at the mountains. Silence fell over the plains. Ethan sank to his knees, wiping sweat and grime from his face. Lyra approached, her glow soft now. You have done well, she said. Your species, stronger than I imagined. Ethan shook his head. No, we only survived because you helped. You guided us, she touched his arm gently. You acted with courage. That is what made the difference. Machines obey only fear and reason. Humans obey something more. Hope. He smiled. Hope, huh? Well, it worked. In the following days, the colony repaired itself. Scientists studied Lyra, carefully learning about her biology and the circuits embedded in her back. Unlike anything they had ever seen, her technology was alive, merging seamlessly with her body, a reminder of the advanced civilizations that existed before humans. Ethan and Lyra walked together along the plains. She had begun teaching him more about the harvesters, how to detect them, and how to prevent future attacks. You've changed the way humans will fight in the stars, she said. He shrugged. I just did what anyone would do. Protect people, adapt, survive. She smiled faintly, eyes glowing in the evening light. Perhaps, but your spirit is remarkable. You are why humans endure. Ethan looked at the horizon. Beyond Erebos, stars stretched endlessly. He imagined the civilizations out there, some thriving, some lost. And he knew one thing. Humans had a place among them. They had courage, ingenuity, and hope. And sometimes that was enough to face even the most ancient, unstoppable machines. Do you think they'll come back? Ethan asked quietly. Lyra looked at him. Maybe, but now, you are ready. Humanity is awake. Ethan nodded. Then we'll be ready for them too. No more hiding. No more running. The twin suns dipped behind the mountains, casting long shadows over Erebos. Lyra's glow reflected softly in the dust, a living beacon. Ethan placed a hand on the ground. We built this colony from nothing, he said softly. And we'll build again stronger. Humanity will endure. For the first time in his life, he felt the weight of the stars and the strength of his species. Humans were fragile, yes, but they were more than that. They were fighters, builders, explorers, and now more than ever, they were ready. Lyra's back glowed one last time. pulsing with light that mirrored the stars. A silent promise hung in the air. Whatever the galaxy held, humanity would face it, together, unbroken, unafraid. Ethan smiled. Then let's see what else is out there. The wind blew across the plains, carrying the hum of dormant machines deep beneath the mountains. But above, humans stood tall, and above all, hope burned brighter than any star.